Right there, welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson. 5 Things We Learned is back for the 24-25 season, and it's proper now. That sort of friendly, semi-serious affair that we had at Wembley is done and dusted, and we are looking ahead to that Fulham game. But we want to talk about some of the things that we did learn yesterday against Manchester City, because I actually thought it was a game where you could have learnt quite a lot. Number one, Garnacho. He's an absolute live wire. When he comes off the bench. I think he's actually a better substitute than he is a starter, and we saw a lot of it last year. We saw him start a hell of a lot of games last year, and it felt to me like there was burnout with him. Now, one of the best traits in Garnacho is that energy, that tenacity, that sort of just rawness about how he plays. And you bring that on with 30 minutes to go in a game, like we saw against Manchester City. He is an absolute hand grenade. There's quality about what he does, but the intensity at which he does it, coming off against a warning defence, is so powerful. I think United go into the season with him as the option straight off the bench. And that's not an option that you may or may not use. I think you play that card all the time. At least just for the start of the season, get his confidence up, get his numbers up, but keep the pressure on what I'm presuming is going to be Ahmad and Rashford that are going to start the season and start the games. Because you know that if the ability or the form slips with the two starters, you can throw Garnacho in, and a fresh Garnacho can come in and start games and be effective. I think because of the intensity of which he plays, when you play him every single week, there was a diminishing returns with him. And I think he is so much more effective off the bench right now because he's still so young of a player as well. I think you have to manage his minutes a little bit better. Now, that was probably impossible with the injuries that we had last year. But I think if you're able to get that right this year, there is a real player there for sure. Number 2, Jaded. Now, the first 30 minutes or so looked like team who'd been on holiday a little bit. It looked like they're going to need a game or two to kind of get up to speed. And the first 30 minutes, it was a little bit disappointing, I'm going to be honest with you. But you think about all of the players who don't have any preseason minutes in them just yet. Mainu, Martinez, Delo, Bruno. It looked like they hadn't played, because they hadn't played. Now, the 3-week off was mandatory. I know some of them have done a little bit more than others over that 3-week course. They did grow into the game as the match went on. I'm hoping the other players in the team can sort of carry those guys through it, because we're going to need to be picking up 3 points against Fulham at Old Trafford on Friday night. They're definitely going to need either a midweek game or some high-intensity training this week in training before that Fulham game, because I think Fulham could come to us like they did at Old Trafford last season and box us up, and we can't start the season like that. Any momentum that you thought you had going into the season just dissipates if that happens. So we can't have that. We need to hit the season hard, and we need those players, because they're your key players, to sort of step up. Now, Martinez I can excuse because he was played at left back. When he did move to centre half, the game had settled a little bit, and he'd settled a little bit, and he looked good. Bruno was busy and he put himself about, and I'm sure he's probably match fit now just on the back of that one game. Delo looked solid without looking like there was any sort of end product out of him. And Mainu was, is his usual sort of safe, reliable self with the ball, but we didn't see any spark out of him. So, there's levels and gears for all of those to go through. And if those 4 players do lift their game, the team as a whole really gets lifted. Like I said, we did grow into the game, but minutes are required for those players. Number 3, strong second half. United were the better side in the second half, actually. And for probably the first 20-25 minutes, some of the football was really, really good. Our press was good. The link play was good. We didn't concede really any kind of chances. City's chances kind of all came in the first half, in that first 30 minutes or so, where United kind of really looked like they were just figuring each other out a little bit. I was impressed with some of the technical play, even some of the patterns. I thought there was so many positives to take. I could even make the case that the substitutes kind of came at the wrong time because we were just growing into the game. Now people are going to be like, oh, Garnacho scored, so clearly the substitutes weren't at the wrong time. You know what I mean? The momentum of what we were just building started to change because the personnel that had built that momentum had now gone off the pitch. But loads of positives to take, and like I said, we don't take too much from it with it being the Community Shield. But there were niceties. And I think if you're going to take anything away from this, you know, the fact that we limited City to 9 shots, we was allowing everybody who came to us last season 20 plus shots. So to kick it off with City with 9, I'm pretty happy with that. Especially when you haven't got your first choice anything really ready yet. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Negatives. McTominay was an absolute passenger when he came on. Mount has to take the opportunity that was presented to him with the injuries better than he did. There was opportunities for him to do stuff. He's got to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and he just kind of didn't do that. We're going to have to we're going to have to improve on our build-up play, which I think happens just when De Ligt's there, Martinez is in the centre, when Shaw gets back, or Dalot and Mazraoui. I just think them 5, whatever that 5 is, when it's not Evans and Maguire, essentially, we get the ball from defence into midfield. We held the ball nice. Evans and Maguire held the ball nice. They had, you know, high pass completions between the two of them, but it was not getting into midfield. And you got Mainu was quiet, and Casemiro was kind of quiet with the ball, certainly in terms of collecting the ball. And, you know, we saw Onana go long a fair few times. Why? Because we weren't being able to break that first line with our defence, and we should be able to. And actually think if we play, if De Ligt and Mazraoui are available, we're going to see that against Fulham. I hope. Just because I think they're players that are so much more suited to doing that. There was lapses in concentration, which you expected, it being a little bit of a pre-season game. Rashford has to hit the target. You know, he had 2 really, really big chances. He's failed to hit the target with both of them. You know, one of those wins the game probably for United, and that's the margins that you're dealing with at the top. That's why the salary that you're on is the salary that you're on. That's why, you know, you want to be considered one of the best players in the world. You got to find the back of the net when those opportunities arise. And then finally, fight for your position. The squad is not in a terrible place, actually. With those 2 signings, instantly United got, oh, we've got a lot of B&M bargains going on, man. We got a lot of 3 for 2s, right? That's boots, innit? Right? We got a lot of 3 for 2s going on. So we've got 3 fullbacks you'd be happy starting. Shaw, Dalot, Mazraoui, 3 for 2. We got 3 centre-halves, when they're all fit, that you'd be happy starting in Yoro, Martinez, De Ligt, 3 for 2, okay? We've got 3 wingers you'd be happy starting, and then a couple that you probably wouldn't be. But Rashford, Garnacho, and Ahmad. You know, you probably can improve on that, but that's 3 for 2 at the end of the day, right? And then you've got probably 3 number 10s as well, actually. But, you know, we're starting to build a little bit of squad depth. And when you get squad depth like that, it gives you competition for places. And what we didn't have last season was, he's having a bad game. Okay, cool, but we can't do anything about him because the one that's going to put the pressure on him is now injured. I think it's been a necessity at United for us to have competition for places, because there's been far too many players far too comfortable just turn up knowing they're going to start week in, week out, no matter what happens. I'm hoping this sort of 3 for 2 boots, B&M bargains, whatever it is, offer that we've got going on, is going to start making people play at their best. You know, it's a subconscious thing rather than a conscious thing. But those are the fine margins that you're dealing with. These are where you win 1-0 instead of drawing 0-0. You know, these are where you manage to snatch a draw rather than you losing a game. They matter, these things. So, very happy with the progress that we are making. 4 signings in's pretty good, and I still think we are going to get a midfielder. There's weeks left in the season just yet, or in the transfer window even, before that closes. There's still players that are going to go. I would not be surprised to see Sancho and McTominay and one of Casemiro or Anthony gone. And I think you've done a bit of a cleansing of the squad there. I think you've improved the technical floor of it. And I think you've taken away some of the players that maybe don't quite fit what we're looking for in terms of a system. But now we've sorted the defence out in the way that we have. Midfielder is absolutely vital. A midfielder is absolutely critical for what we're going to do for next season. But, you know, can't wait. Fulham, Friday. Let me know in the comments if you're going. Might even meet everyone for a pint. What do we reckon? See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.